Hey folks, welcome back to the Wikipedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. And today again, we will continue with the professional ethics by the Chartered Accountant Act 1949, right? So we have already been studying about this topic, and in the immediate preceding lecture, we have discussed about the first schedule, part 1, clause number 2, right? And I hope that is very much clear with all of you. And today we move on to the next clause, which is clause 3, right? So I hope all of you are on the same page, on the same track, where we are discussing about the first schedule, right? And when we talk about the first schedule, we mean about all those elements that comes across a chartered accountant before he starts with his actual auditing or his actual work, right? So this is prior to getting involved in the work. And when we talk about part 1, that means we are dealing with the professional misconduct, the first point to note. Second, we are dealing with the professional misconduct for a person who is in practice and not for the person who is in job, right? So with that basic and that background in mind, we will go on to see what clause 3 has to discuss. Okay, so we are going a little slower on this, and I think this clause 6, 7, these are some huge clauses that will take, I think, 1 or 2 class individually, but then we will catch up speed. And after part 1, part 2 has just 2 clauses, part 3 has just, like, then it goes to 3, 4, 2, 3 clauses like that. Again, in the second schedule, part 1, you have 10 clauses, and then again it minimizes to 3 and 4 like that, right? So when we talk about the clause 3, the first schedule, part 1, clause 3, this is what it has to say. So we'll read it out. It is the plain text which is exactly word to word same with what institute prescribes, right? So it says a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he. So this line, you know, will be common with the entire part 1, right? So he'll be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he, number 1, accepts or agrees to accept any part of the profit of the professional work of a person who is not a member of the institute. So in plain text, what they say is, likewise as in clause 2, you are not supposed to give away any part or any share from your commission, brokerage or fees that you charge, right? You are not paying any commission to anyone else out of it. So similarly, you're not even allowed to accept it from somebody. So it is a barrier on both ends. No outflow, no inflow, right? And again, the purpose is the same, to avoid that biasness. Clear with it? But now we also have certain exceptions to it. When we say that you are not supposed to take this money from any person other than a member of institute, right? But again, there are certain persons who have been excluded. That means there are these category of people from whom you can take, from whom you can accept, right? Like you can accept certain part of the profit of the professional work of any other chartered accountant. Similarly, you can accept a part of profit of the work from these following people. Now, who are they? First of all, when we talk about it, it says, if we read the text, it is, however, such restriction does not apply on the following. Number 1, a member of any other professional body. Now, does that sound very familiar to you? It does, right? Why? Because in clause 2 also we have discussed exactly what are the other professional bodies. Why? Because for that we refer to regulation 53A subsection 1. I mean clause 1. Regulation 53A 1. There we have discussed, we have listed down, right? We'll see in the next slide. I'll again repeat that slide where we'll discuss about the members of these professional bodies, who are the professional bodies that we consider or that we exempt from this restriction, right? And then apart from that professional body, the other category is such other persons having such qualification as may be prescribed. Now, which are the prescribed qualification? Again, for this we refer to regulation 53A 3, right? So for the purpose of rendering such professional service to time in outside India. Right? So let us now see on a whole in our simple language, what does it mean? It means to say, my dear friends, that if you are a chartered accountant, you are not allowed to accept any part of profit from a professional work that some person is doing. Means there is Mr. A who is going on to do a professional work, and you say, okay, if you are doing this work, I will charge 10% from your commission. Why? Because maybe I have referred you to that person. Or maybe you are able to do it because of me. There is some link, some connection, some references I have made. Right? So that is why, to curb those things, they say that from any other professional work you cannot say. Because what happens is, as a chartered accountant, right? Now understand, some of you who have already been to your regular offices for your internship and stuff, you know in office that as a CA you have a lot of power in your hand. When you go to a client, right? And if that client is not very well equipped with the market or with anything, the first person whom he seeks an advice for is a chartered accountant. Why? Because for entire finances and the entire regulatory issue, he is seeking, or that company is seeking, your advice. So now if they want to involve some other person for any professional work in their organization, they'll ask you, hey, do you know somebody for actuaries? Do you know somebody for this? Do you know somebody for that? And if you have referred somebody, and you know why they trust you basically? Number one reason is because they know you are in the market. You are auditing other companies as well. And over there, even that company needs some professional people. So even if you do not refer, you at least know some people who are doing that kind of a work over there. That company, that client may not have come into any interaction with such kind of people, but you have. So they depend upon you, or they request you, or they ask you, if you have, sir, please let us know. Now if you are referring somebody, that means you are giving business to both of them. You are helping the client with that professional service, and you are helping that professional person with the client. Right? And referral is the biggest business today. So you definitely tend to charge something out of it. Okay, you are, I'm the middleman, I'm getting you to connected, I want 10% of yours. So that is where you say the professional ethics says that we'll put a barrier. You cannot charge it like that. Otherwise I'll be biased, right? I'll always refer Mr. X who is ready to pay me the higher amount rather than Mr. Y who may be a good professional otherwise. Right? So our profession is like that. People depend upon us, so we cannot be biased. Right? If that person is asking us for some good professional who can do his work, as a chartered accountant, it is our responsibility to give him the best in the market. It again depends on what he can afford, but at his budget, whatever be the best. But if we look at our individual financial profits, financial concern, then we tend to be biased. And that is against our ethics, against our professional ethics. And hence you will be penalized as per clause 3. So neither do you accept nor do you pay. Clear? So your two clauses, clause 2 talks about paying, clause 3 talks about accepting. But again, the institute says, okay, you can accept it from a chartered accountant. Maybe he's your partner, maybe he's your employee, maybe he's your buddy, anybody. Let me say, okay, you are also involved. We are doing this task cumulatively. You are doing that part also. So when you get the fees, we'll share it this way. It happens, right? But now since you also get into multidisciplinary firms, the LLPs that you form, right? The lawyers and stuff that you have. So now if you are involving them because they're part of your firm, so it is a service that you as a firm, as a team is providing. So there it is obviously reasonable and rational for you to take the money. It's a firm, yeah, it's a team effort. So if your client is asking you for an actuary and you have an actuary with you, you'll say, okay, I have an actuary, I provide you that service. So Mr. X is my actuary, he'll help you out with that. And you take that commission. That is doable. Right? That is why, again, as per regulation 53A, 1 and 3 both, there are certain bodies and there are certain other qualifications for which the institute has relaxed this provision. Clear? Now do you get the entire idea about the clause 3? Why is it formed and what purpose does it solve? Clear? So now whenever you are at the client, you will have to be very careful with these things. That if you are engaging someone else with your client, right, and if they are beyond this relaxation, then you are not supposed to share. You'll be in big trouble. Right? So now let us again have a look on what are these professional bodies and what are such qualification. Right? And why am I showing you this slide again is that you will be on the same page as I am. You will understand that yes, everywhere we're talking about these specifically. Why? Because we are talking about Regulation 53A and 53A, 1 and 3. So generally, if you go ahead with any study material provided by any teacher or any author, right, what happens over there, like, because even I have referred a lot of study materials as well, I did not find this regulation anywhere mentioned. Neither does a teacher stress on this regulation. But understand, when you are quoting in the examination and you say that yeah, those professional bodies, the list is contained in Regulation 53A, and then you name down the 5. Think about the kind of impact you make on the examiner who is checking your paper. They know that you are not guessing the bodies, right? You exactly know that yeah, over here it is defined and these are the 5 of them. The level of confidence he has, he knows how thorough you are. And is it difficult to remember Regulation 53A, my dear friends? It's not. I have uttered this word Regulation 53A approximately 10 times in this video itself, and there's a purpose for it. So that this regulation gets registered in your brain. I was talking about it in the previous lecture as well. The only sole purpose of showing it to you again over here is when you use your eyes and your ear, it gets registered in your brain. Register it. All these small little things you need to pay attention to. This is what gives you an edge above the other students in the market. Right? Generally, if you go out and you talk to your friends, anybody, right, they will, people who have studied audit also, they'll give you a brief that yeah, this happens, clause 2 talks about this, clause 3 talks about this, but if you go on to specific details, they don't know it. Why? Because we have been conditioned like that since our early childhood. We have been studying like that. Most of you must have started accountancy after class 12, like I did as well. Right? So you have just come out of school, and in school we have a different level of education. So knowing things was too much over there, okay, and we can just write 2 theses on it and we get marks. This is a different playing field. You don't score that way. You don't have time. 3 hours is a very limited time if you actually sit in an examination and you check. Given 5 hours, you can write for continuously 5 hours as well for the same question paper, trust me. But the point is, they're not checking your writing skill. They want you to be professional, crisp, to the point, with regulations, with the sections. You obviously you do not have extra marks for this, but the entire perception of the examiner depends on it. And it's the examiner who gives you marks in theory. It's not the right answer. It's about his perception. So same answer, one student can get 5 out of 5 and the other gets 2 out of 5. Why? Because the examiner thinks he has written nothing. So these are small little tricks, my dear friend. Please apply them in your examination. Right? So if we talk about it, the prescribed professional bodies are CS, CWA, Bar Council, Architect and Actuary, CCBA, right? AA, B, CC. Anyways, you remember it, or you from a mnemonics on this. But this is not the words that you have to write. Again, I'm reminding it to you. You don't write these words in the examination. I'm giving it over here because it will help you to memorize it. When you are viewing it, this picture will be clear in front of your eyes in your examination. Right? But when you write, you say the Institute of Company Secretary of India, the Institute of Cost and Works Accountant of India, Bar Council of India, the Indian Institute of Architecture, Institute of Actuaries. You start it like that. Why? Because we are talking about professional bodies, not the profession. Whereas in Regulation 53A Clause 3, we talk about the professions. So over there we say, yeah, it's Company Secretary, Cost Accountant, Actuary, Bachelor of Engineering, Bachelor of Technology, right? You go ahead, Bachelor of Architecture, Bachelor of Law, Masters of Business Administration. That is how you specify it. Why? Because over there we are talking about the qualifications and not the bodies that provide you with that qualification. Clear with it? Any queries on the clause 3? Please let me know in the comment section below. Right? Have another look to clause 3 and register it in your brain straight away. You do not have a lot of time. After classes again you go on and on again, before examination you read. Right? This screen should be registered in your brain. When you are writing it, this should appear in front of your eyes. Open it and read it. A chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he accepts or agrees to accept any part of the profit of the professional work of a person who is not a member of the institute. However, such restriction does not apply on the following: a member of any other professional body, that is Regulation 53A1, with such other persons having such qualification as may be prescribed, Regulation 53A3, for the purpose of rendering such professional service to time in or outside India. Right? That is about your clause 3, and we'll take over the next clause, clause 4, in the next lecture. Let's keep it short, sweet and simple. Right? So thank you so much for watching this video. This is Abhinay Gupta signing off for the lecture, and I'll see you back in the next lecture with the next clause. Thank you so much. Goodbye.